Russia has reached record production levels of the Il-76 MD-90A military transport aircraft and is preparing to increase them by another 2.5 times. What kind of aircraft is this? Why is it becoming increasingly relevant in light of the situation in Venezuela, Iran, and Greenland? And why are Russia and China the only countries capable of mass-producing aircraft of this class today? We'll talk about this as well as a new rescue story right after a brief summary of positive news. For the first time in the world, Russia has carried out monitoring of Antarctica using UAVs via an over-the-horizon communication channel at a distance of about 14,000 kilometers. Testing has begun on Russia's first unmanned Moscow 2024 metro train. Production has begun on the new Kama automobile plant, 65956 K5 generation semi-truck, and the traction asynchronous motor for the first Russian high-speed train has successfully passed acceptance tests. The Kodkinsky ship repair plant has launched the crab fishing vessel Karaginsky Zaliv. The Leningrad plant has produced a second powerful Russian gas turbine for the new Far East thermal power plant. At the Nika Collider, a particle beam has completed its first full circle and is now circulating steadily, moving experiments closer to starting. The Russian orbital telescope, Spectre RG, has completed its scientific program, which lasted 6 years and continues to operate. Rosatom has developed the first domestic modular inverter for solar power plants. In 1963, the Americans introduced the world's first long-range military transport aircraft with turbojet engines, the Lockheed C-141 Starlifter. It was created to be able to make non-stop flights from the West Coast to Southeast Asia, where the Americans were hurrying to stop the spread of communism by 1965 already. In Rosatom, Vietnam transported American soldiers and cargo, then soon carried back the wounded and dead. Although the aircraft came in very handy and was able to perform its functions, engineering miscalculations were soon discovered. For example, the power plant and the strength of the airframe allowed it to carry 30 tons of cargo, but due to the small volume of the compartment, it could actually carry only 21 tons. This drawback was corrected in the next modification, but that was already in 1968. Production was stopped forever. Not because the aircraft turned out to be bad, but because the 285 units produced covered the needs of the United States Air Force for several decades ahead. Only in 1991 did a new aircraft, the Boeing C-17 Globemaster III, come to replace the aging fleet of Starlifters. It was produced until 2015 with 270 units built. At the moment, aircraft of this class are not being produced in the United States. In the 1960s, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics took the creation of the Starlifter seriously, and our answer was ready. In 1971, it was the Il-76 aircraft. In 1971, the heavy transport jet aircraft Il-76, created at the Ilyushin Design Bureau, took to the skies. A number of innovative solutions were used in the design of the aircraft, including powerful wing mechanization, an original multi-wheel landing gear, suitable even for unpaved airfields, a cargo ramp, and a hoist that greatly simplified the loading and unloading process, but its main feature was its versatility. It was able to transport civilian and military cargo, conduct airborne operations, serve as a tanker, a rescue aircraft, a flying hospital, a fire command post, and a reconnaissance aircraft. In total, our country produced 955, of which more than 100 were delivered to other countries. The Union's collapse stopped production, as these aircraft were made at the Tashkent aviation plant, which had been relocated to Uzbekistan from the Moscow region. During the Great Patriotic War, independent Uzbekistan tried to continue aircraft production on its own. But by the year 2000, it became clear that this was impossible, and the former Soviet giant switched to small-scale production of household goods for the population. Although Russia still had a solid stock of Il-76s, it became necessary to restart production on its own territory almost from scratch. Production of the Il-76 was launched at the Ulyanovsk aircraft plant on September 22, 2012. The upgraded Il-76 MD-90A assembled there made its first flight. Many improvements were made to the design: a modernized wing and center section, reinforced landing gear, a new onboard and navigation system, and of course, new PS-90A-76 engines. This made it possible to increase the flight range and payload, improve the aircraft's accuracy, handling and airdrop capabilities, and the quality of radio communications. The Il-76 MD-90A can carry 60 tons up to 4,000 kilometers, making it the new workhorse of Russian military transport aviation. The country accomplished the difficult task of reviving the legendary aircraft, even in an improved form. But there were difficulties with organizing mass production. We could no longer afford the scale of the Union, and there was also a severe shortage of personnel capable of producing this unique but not simple machine. To increase production volumes, an assembly line was created at the plant, which reduced the labor intensity of the process by 38%. The implemented laser positioning system ensured high precision in the alignment of all the aircraft's components. In 2021, the first Il-76 MD-90A assembled on such a line was sent for testing. The events of 2022, on one hand, increased the demand for new machines in the military, but on the other hand, intensified the shortage of personnel, as professionals became highly sought after at other enterprises as well. Nevertheless, since 2023, we have started producing 6 such aircraft per year, and in the past year, 2025, we produced a record 7 for the first time. In the current year, 2026, we will produce 10, and starting from 2028, the aircraft plant will reach the required level of 18 aircraft per year. It may seem like a small number, but today, besides us, only China produces similar products in the world, and here are their production volumes. As we already mentioned, the Americans stopped producing the Boeing C-17 Globemaster III in 2015 for financial reasons. Production is expensive, and the aircraft they already have should be enough for the coming decades. The Chinese, on the other hand, in 2012 launched the first prototype of their own counterpart, called Yun-20, or Fat Girl, as it was unofficially nicknamed. If you look closely, you can see features of both the Boeing and our Il-76 in it. On the first production aircraft, the Chinese installed Russian D-30KP, 2 engines, but later switched to using their own engines. Since 2013, 95 of these aircraft have been produced, which means the average production rate was 7 planes per year. As you can see, that's not a lot either, especially for a country like China. As a result, a rather unique situation has developed in the world today. Only 2 countries mass-produce heavy turbojet military transport aircraft. Of course, there are also super heavy machines like the Lockheed C-5M Super Galaxy or the An-124 Ruslan. But that's a different league, cost, and set of tasks. There is also a class of turboprop transport aircraft like the Lockheed Martin C-130J Super Hercules, but they have lower payload capacity, speed, and range. The Il-76 company is used where heavyweights are excessive and turboprop transports are insufficient. For example, we use them to deliver cargo to Antarctica, while the Americans widely use the C-17 for humanitarian operations. But the main purpose of machines in this class is power projection and carrying out high responsibility missions. It is known that on the eve of Maduro's abduction, our 76th flew to Venezuela, and judging by the route, it was carrying some very valuable cargo. The Americans were evacuating their wounded servicemen from Venezuela who had been injured during special operations. There have been fairly regular flights of our planes to Iran. Not to mention the tasks within the current conflict, the Chinese have created their own fat girl to project power in the Asia-Pacific region. And since the world has now entered another phase of painful and rapid transformation, there will be more and more tasks for aircraft of the Il-76 class. That's why it was so important for Russia to restore their production, and that's why the record of 7 aircraft per year with the prospect of increasing to 18 is really good news. We'll keep you updated on the developments.